Binary Banter.
Hello.
This is just what is our...
We just talk
We just talk about things.
Yeah, we're going to talk about...
kind of nerdy things, mostly about computer science.
Yeah.
You know.
So who are we? We should introduce ourselves.
Okay, so I'll start off. Hello, I'm Meryl. I'm a senior, graduating in the spring. I'm pretty excited.
We go to Gonzaga University, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do go to Gonzaga.
Yeah. I'm Sterling Miller. I'm a senior as well, studying computer science here at Gonzaga in Spokane.
I'm Bethany Bogensberger. I'm the lone junior in our group. Gonna be all
But we
alone
love
next
you
year.
so much.
All alone.
What are you gonna do with that? I know. What are you gonna do with us?
Yeah.
It's gonna be sad.
It will be.
Okay, so we need a fun fact about ourselves.
Okay. Sterling, why don't you go first?
A fun fact about myself is I play volleyball. Yeah, I do. I play for Gonzaga, so that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm.
Fun fact about me, I am the youngest of 6 kids, and I'm a first-gen college kid.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Those were good. That was good.
That is... Okay, well, so fun fact about me is I'm actually married.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
I know.
Wow, you tied that knot.
Get out of
Wow.
town. I know. You know.
Wow, it's such an adult
Way to
now.
upstage all of us.
I'm sorry, guys.
We're hashtag undateable. It's fine.
Hashtag.
Okay, so what we have on our little power spreadsheet thing, our favorite operating system. So that's like our final fun fact question as we do introductions here. Meryl.
Okay, favorite operating system. I really, really like Mac OS. So I'm going to have to go with that.
Is there like an iteration of Mac OS that you like?
I really like El Capitan right now.
Okay.
It's hitting all the right things right now, so I like it.
I'm a recent convert to Mac OS.
Oh,
I used to
welcome,
be
welcome.
PC, so I really don't know which iteration of it I really like the
Right.
best so far. Cause
Are you using the current
As
one?
long as you...
yeah, I'm
okay.
like current on my
Are you sure it's not
updates.
Windows
Okay.
Vista? Windows Vista.
Vista was 95.
I'm just waiting for someone to say Minix, really.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I mean...
Sorry about that. I'm going to have to say OS 10 as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's very stable. It's a
Join
nice
the
development
club.
environment. But I know all the hardcore computer science people are going to be like, well, Linux is the best development environment.
You know,
but
I like Linux. It's
yeah.
just I like Mac OS more.
it's a very pretty nice. It's pretty beautiful.
Very
I
smooth.
think it's smooth.
So far, it's running very smoothly.
It does well.
I have no complaints.
So, what class are we taking right now?
Okay, so we're taking theory of computation.
How's that going, everyone?
It's going to be a little rough final, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
Ouch, yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited.
You know, anything could happen.
You know, anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
And that's how I feel about this class. It's just, you never know what you're going to get.
Mhm.
But it's great. You
Yeah.
learn something
As
new
long
every
as
day.
it's not trivial material, it's pretty good.
It's usually pretty trivial.
Yep.
So today's topic is Alan Turing, which we've been talking about for a while. Kind of just, represents like the culmination of a semester in computing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It really puts everything in perspective.
It really does, yeah. And doing research on this guy, he's just very, very fascinating. So I guess we can just jump right into it.
We'll start out.
So early life.
Born in 1912 in June.
June. Is anyone here born in June?
No.
He'd be a Gemini.
Yeah,
I'm a Gemini.
Oh,
Wow,
wow.
that's my
you
connection to
too.
Turing right there.
Oh,
Oh,
see,
See what
that's
you did there?
Yeah.
I'm totally not even. And it looks like he was also born in Paddington, London as well. So,
Yeah.
Ooh, have either of you guys ever been over there?
no.
My roommate's been to London. I wonder if
Really?
he's been to Paddington.
Ooh,
I have
Possibly.
that's a good question to ask.
Yeah. Have you guys been anywhere in Europe?
No,
I've
I've
never
always
been on
wanted to
a
go.
country.
I've
Come on, you
always wanted to go.
guys.
You studied abroad, right?
I did. I went to. Almost said I went to Princeton. I went to. I went to Florence,
Oh.
which was great. Yeah.
How long were you over there
So
for?
I was there for 6 weeks,
Oh,
but
that's
not the same as London. But
Not the
it's
same,
still
but
really
still,
nice.
you've
Quite
at least
London.
been.
not quite
you've
London,
been
but
over
it
the
was.
waters,
Yeah,
I mean.
I've been over the pond, as they say.
That's
Yeah. So shocking. Alan Turing did not actually go to Gonzaga. I know.
Well,
I can't believe it.
I know.
Not even in Florence.
Which is weird. Gonzaga was around when he was around,
Right.
so
That's
that's nice.
It was a possibility.
He could have.
You know what I
He
mean?
could have. He probably would have made it in. I'm just.
I
Just
mean,
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
So he went
We're
to-
all here.
So he went to Cambridge.
okay. Yeah.
Did undergraduate and graduate studies there. And then moved on to Princeton and did some doctoral work. So because people just casually go to Cambridge and then casually go to Princeton.
I mean,
if we have any
And get
listeners,
high honors.
Yeah.
You can't forget the high honors
mean,
on that.
it's pretty difficult to do. Yeah,
That's
but it's different
fascinating.
times
It's
though too. I feel like that's what I'm gonna hold on to. Is it's much harder to get into? Is it much harder to get into Ivy Leagues now than it was back then?
I don't
That's a very good question.
I feel like
I would
going to college at all back then, like, you had to have the right connections
Mhm.
or the right mouth smarts. Like,
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
it wasn't just like anyone could apply for college and get
Yeah.
funding to help you get there.
Right.
This is true.
So
Well,
Interesting.
almost make
Okay.
it easier now.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. But also, he was a genius. So,
That's true.
that is true.
You know, he
was-
did a lot of good things.
He was a
Yeah.
smart kid, that's for sure. Okay.
So after Princeton, what happened to him?
There was a war.
Oh,
What?
there
There was a war then?
Yeah,
This is
that's-
a pretty big
that's
war called World War II.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah, you
That's
know,
right,
a lot of
yeah.
it wasn't a good
That trivial
time.
thing that happened.
It wasn't a good time for a lot of people. Yeah. So he actually did a lot of work for the British government,
Yeah.
right?
Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be really
I
cool.
would
Do some,
thoroughly love
do some,
to
like,
have had his job.
government
Would you guys
work?
want to end up working for the government? I mean,
Dude, I would totally do that.
I don't know if I would.
Secret
Be like,
cracking work. Yeah.
super like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Top level clearance.
That's what I'm
Into
saying.
the-
That is,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's gotta be a goal.
Okay, so what did he do? Someone
Okay.
explain it to me. I
Okay,
don't-
so basically, he was working on this ciphering machine.
Well, he's
at-
working on breaking the
Yeah.
German cipher called Enigma,
Correct.
which was at that time uncrackable
Hmm.
until Turing came
So,
along.
okay,
Well, and then, you know.
kind of ruined that for them, but yeah. So basically, yeah, he was hired on by Bletchley Park.
He did work for them
Did work
for a
for them,
while. How did he
yeah.
actually break the code? Do you know, Bethany?
So, like, they came to a realization because every day the cipher was a little bit different. So that's why
Right.
it was so hard to crack because it was constantly changing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they made the connection that every day's newsletter to the German people or the military in German started with the date and Hail Hitler. So
Ah,
based
there
off
we
of
go.
that,
Yep.
they're able to
Yep.
find what the code
That
was.
giveaway, you know.
Right.
They
Yeah.
just
Right.
classic mistake, really.
Yeah.
You should have thought that through a little
Yeah.
more.
Dictator 101. Yeah, you just don't do that.
You just don't do
So
that.
afterwards, he actually worked in the National Physical Laboratory and helped develop the ACE, which stands for the Automatic Computing Engine,
There you go.
which is basically a program stored computer, kind of more like our earlier forms of computing that we know now. And did some work for them, and then kind of bopped around to Manchester University actually, and then worked on the Manchester computers, which are basically just as kind of the same as the ACEs,
Okay.
but were more of a series of computers that were used for educational purposes and research and things like that. So that was pretty interesting. He didn't have the best later life.
No,
It
not too
didn't
much.
go so well for Alan Turing, unfortunately. So he was prosecuted in 1952 for being a homosexual
What?
in the United Kingdom, which at the time was a big problem.
Yeah.
Well, the actual crime that they got him with was indecent exposure. Was that what it was?
Yeah, I believe I was looking that up.
And how
yeah,
did they
it's-
even did they explain on how that actually happened, or?
Or how they found out?
Well, yeah, I mean,
So, like, how they found out
Yeah.
was he was, like, it was very secretive at the time.
right?
because,
It's like a secret. Yeah, for
But,
sure.
like, they found a 19-year-old boy with a note from Alan Turing about them getting
Oh,
together.
Okay, I see,
So,
yeah.
See, that's just. Well, I'm glad we live in the times we do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit easier to love who you want to love now. But
Yeah.
he actually had some therapy / treatment that actually involved in his death, and
It was quite a mess.
died from accidental cyanide poisoning.
I
From his,
thought that was on purpose.
well, they said that they don't know if it's a suicide or not.
Right.
Anyone subjected to that treatment in quotations.
Hormonal
You know what I mean? Like,
castration.
I don't know if I would.
I don't know if I would have,
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Done the
so
same.
yeah, he died pretty young, but
He
Yeah,
could have given us so much more.
kind of tragically, yeah. But I feel
Too
like
bad.
most legends do die tragically in some
It's
weird
true.
way.
They're
It's
like,
kind of
you
Die
know,
a hero or...
live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Wow,
I
we
mean,
even got. Is that a Batman quote?
That's a Batman.
Wow, we
We
even
got
got a
that-
Batman
we
quote
got
into
that-
binary banter. I'm
Dude,
so excited.
This is binary banter at its finest. I mean, okay.
Okay, so this is great. We're talking about Alan Turing right now,
Yeah.
But why do we care?
That is the
why
question.
Why do we care?
Well, computers, duh.
And computation,
yeah.
important,
Computation.
very important. So his major contribution really was the Turing machine. So if you have been involved in any sort of undergraduate or graduate mathematics or computer science courses, I'm sure the topic of the Turing machine has come up at some point.
Just maybe.
So kind of some background information. Alonzo Church was actually a doctoral advisor for him at Princeton. And helped compose the Church Turing Thesis, which we actually talked about here in class at Gonzaga a little bit. And basically how that goes is any function on the natural numbers is computable by a human by ignoring obvious resource limitations, so like time or physicality or things like that. If and only if it is computable by a Turing machine, which is a nice little definition of the church Turing thesis, but doesn't really help us out unless you know what a Turing machine is. So we can kind of go into more about that too. So does anyone want to start off talking about Turing machines and?
Well, so basically, I mean, as more of an abstract behind a Turing machine, I guess it's made up of symbols of manipulation and tape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about this a little bit in class. How we have the tape that it's going to run through the actual
algorithm.
Yeah, algorithm of the Turing machine. So
any computable algorithm a
Right.
Turing machine can compute.
Mm-hmm.
correct.
And can represent. So
Yeah.
Well, it's commonly confused too that people think that it's meant to demonstrate unrestricted computing, but it's unrestricted computers, but rather unrestricted computations of algorithms themselves can be demonstrated by a Turing machine, which is pretty cool. We also have this thing called the notion of Turing Completeness, which is kind of the ability for a system or of instructions to simulate a Turing machine. So if it can do so, then it is Turing complete. I didn't actually know this, but most programming languages are Turing complete.
All?
Most. It says most. I'm trying to think.
Not though? I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Maybe
I'm thinking off the top of my head. Yeah.
Maybe the earlier ones.
I'm
I'm trying to think.
trying to think which.
Because I remember in a previous class we were talking about how a language, to be considered a language, has to be Turing complete.
That is correct. I remember that. Yeah, that's
interesting.
right. So I guess if it's not Turing complete, it wouldn't be an actual programming language.
Right.
Yeah, because
Right.
you could have pseudo languages.
Right.
Mhm.
Your
HTML stuff, isn't that maybe not be?
Yeah, what's an example of that? But even HTML would be Turing complete.
Because it's programming. in a way.
Because regardless of the style of programming. That's really interesting.
That's interesting.
That
Okay,
might be a
well,
point
while
to
we're on the
look
topic
forward
of programming
to.
languages, favorite programming languages, we have to talk about this.
Yeah. Dude, okay. I know.
We're gonna judge each other on this.
I know.
This guy.
Judgment is
Okay,
open.
I know that I'm gonna be kind of. I really actually liked Haskell. Okay.
Wow.
I loved the
surprised.
recursion.
Recursion is nice when you really grasp
before
Right.
before diving into the Haskell, recursion was just a thing that we knew about, but
it was
I didn't
horrible.
Right.
It was really implemented.
Right, we're like, oh, we have to use
Recursion's
recursion, and then
terrible.
Haskell comes around. We get to do a lot more dealing with recursion, and you know what? It's grown on me.
Like recursion in Python or a more rudimentary language can be really difficult
That's true.
sometimes.
Okay,
So Haskell
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
What about for you?
I'm Haskell.
Okay, so you guys are going to really judge me for this.
Well,
one.
I can't be worse than
I-
Haskell.
Minix? I
No.
don't know.
It's not a language.
I don't know.
I've been working a lot with Python this year,
Okay.
so I'm doing a research project
Oh, cool.
in
Oh,
you gotta
Python
love
and
Python.
language processing with it, which is kind of interesting. So I'm becoming more familiar with it. So I can't,
Python's so nice.
I'm kind of
It
liking it
is.
because of that, but I'm most familiar with C++. So
Okay.
familiarity,
Right.
I'm more comfortable with it.
Python plays well with others.
Yeah.
It's
It
very
does.
it's
And-
very modern.
And C++ is just
It's just
It's the
basic.
king.
it's the
a
king.
go-to.
It's the
And I was
king. It's the king.
for my answer I was
C++.
going to say C++ because
Oh,
I just love it. I think that it's a good, mid-level
kinda-
language, very
yeah.
powerful, but also,
practical. It's powerful and practical. I mean,
yeah. I mean, would I want to, do it with graphics again? Probably not. It's a good language, regardless. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah. Okay. So the notion of Alan Turing in pop culture is
Yeah.
pretty big.
Yeah.
So you guys seen any films with AI or anything?
Dude,
Well,
favorite film with AI. iRobot.
Yes.
iRobot's up there.
I love
Totally.
Will Smith.
and Will Smith in
dude.
his prime, really.
I mean, let's
Okay,
be
Not to
let's
his
be
name, but,
honest.
when he
he's
just-
forever
when he
young.
when he has to take his shirt off, and he's just, I mean,
And when it's he's not even a real arm.
yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler
Oh,
alerts for everyone
yeah,
listening out
sorry.
there. But if you haven't seen it by now, you're probably not going to.
Well, at this point, you need to go watch it right now.
Yeah.
Turn
Yeah.
off the podcast, go watch iRobot.
I don't know. I think continue the podcast and then afterwards.
Yeah.
you
Or watch it while.
I mean,
that could work.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Also, I saw Ex Machina, which is a more recent
Oh,
film
yeah,
done
tell
by
us about that.
A24, which is
Okay.
pretty chill. If that's a way to describe films, I don't know. So
he
it
just came out with his biography, a movie about him specifically.
so maybe that's the one we should be.
That
looking
is the one.
That it was really
Yeah.
like really good. Learned
Do you know if it's on
a
Netflix?
lot. Ooh, I don't know if
that's
it's on
a
Netflix
very good
yet.
question.
We could see if it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
That'd
We'll
be
get
nice.
back to you on that.
Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, like in Ex Machina, it's basically this robot who's being interviewed by a computer scientist who's asked to pass the Turing Test, which is kind of interesting thing about Alan Turing is he had this notion of a Turing Test, which is basically if a subject's interacting with the computer, it passes the Turing Test, or a computer will pass the Turing Test if after a number of people interacting with the machine, the people don't know that it's a computer.
So it's like 70-ish% that have to think that the computer is a human. So like these people interact with both human and computer, like two people at the same time, like keyboard conversations.
Right.
And they have to think that the computer is the human.
Right. Okay. So even that notion in and of itself has sparked a lot of interesting things in AI. Yeah, Cleverbot. Has anyone used Cleverbot?
I've never used
Yes.
Cleverbot.
I've
never used
Cleverbot does
it.
definitely not pass the Turing Test.
Oh
But,
my god.
And then, it has influenced modern forms of AI like Siri, or
yeah.
Cortana from Microsoft.
Yeah.
If you're into that.
I like Siri. Siri's funny.
We should have another podcast on Siri because I feel like Siri is still a little bit incomplete.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Below
But
the
it'd be
standard of Apple products,
fun
but-
to talk
but-
about the development process behind it.
behind her.
That's
yeah.
for another
you know?
time, though, guys.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
fine. Back
Carrying
to
on.
It. Back
So
to it. Okay, fine.
So how did his work affect people?
Okay, so back in his time, well, first off, that he went ahead and proposed this machine, right, that would be effective at trying to, battle the current machine, which is the Bomba, which is the Polish decryption team.
Mm-hmm.
And so he went ahead and proposed this for that, and I guess let me go on to say that this became the primary machine. So not only did he develop a machine that was useful, it was also the primary decryption machine for the German code.
That's
So,
cool.
his work was just phenomenal.
Right.
Later on, he developed a technique called the Turing's method, which I guess was like his actual...
There's a lot named after
Now,
this guy.
right?
Yeah.
It's just this, like,
He did a lot
It just goes
for
on
us, yeah.
and goes on and goes on. And this was like, I guess, his basic, hand code breaking method. So basically, they would run in with the code. He would go into his machine and alter the little gears inside there.
Mm-hmm.
And then this would be able to actually determine and decipher this code.
Right.
That's
From the
pretty
German.
nifty.
That's cool.
So it was really, really cool, the stuff that he accomplished in his lifetime. Later on, this was kind of a sad thing that didn't really get to be used to its full potential, but he had developed this machine, Delilah. Now, this was used to actually...
They always have to name him.
Right?
Did he name it after, like, somebody?
Do we know who Delilah is?
That's a good question.
I'm going to say it's probably not his significant other.
Well,
I mean,
it could have been, like, an
might
important
have been.
person.
It could have been, yeah.
Because
It might
he
have been,
pretended
maybe.
to be, like, in his life to avoid suspicions of being gay.
So maybe,
Right.
maybe
he had a fiancé.
Yeah, so
Oh,
maybe
wow.
that was the name of his fiance. That's a good question.
Oh, interesting.
That's a very good question.
So back to Delilah.
Anyways, back to Delilah. So during this time, they were like, okay, well, we can either use our telegrams to, send messages about war codes and stuff, or, back in this time was the use of some sort of device that would be able to send your voice, right? So this is the beginning age of telephones and telephone lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Delilah machine was made to actually encrypt your speech so that they couldn't, if someone tapped into your line, trying to, let's try to listen in.
Where's Delilah now with the NSA happening?
She's with Snowden now. I don't know.
She's
gone.
And that was the problem, was when he actually got this completed, it was towards the end of the World War II.
Oh, so like no one really
So
cared.
he got it done. They're kind of like, oh, well, that's cool, but we
Not
don't
really
really
applicable
need
yet.
it,
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the sad part about that. So ultimately, it was never really used for its full potential because, well, the war's over. We no longer need to, encrypt messages. But a cool fun fact about this is he actually went ahead and tested it out for them by encrypting a Winston Churchill
Did it work?
speech. And it worked great.
Oh, there you go.
It worked
Of course it
perfect.
did.
Of course.
It's
Of
Alan
course
Turing.
it did. It's Alan Turing. I mean, why expect less,
Right.
So yeah, those were some of his major, contributions to the work of that time. Was all of those,
Right.
and it was great. I mean, yeah.
Dang. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So The interest in the subject. That started at an early age. He was just like, a whiz kid. He just naturally gifted in math science, naturally curious about it.
I read somewhere that his professor, like his early teachers, didn't like that so much because they were trying to teach him the classics and more involved in sociology.
Yeah,
and
so like
Yeah.
before he transferred to that school, the teacher was like, "Dude, you gotta like keep pursuing this." They respected him for it at such a young age.
Right.
But then he transferred to this other public school, and they're like, "If you want to like really focus on things you shouldn't stay in public school. Like you need to focus on all this other stuff."
Specialize. Yeah.
Yeah. So they like really wanted to broaden his horizons essentially, but like he was just a genius at this point.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like in 1927, he solved complex math problems with no foundation in calculus. Never taught calculus in his life. Wow. Solving these majorly complex math problems. Like I wish I could do.
Yeah,
that.
I know calculus, and I still can't do basic math problems. So,
right? Like, oh gosh, if I had to take calculus again, I probably would say no. I mean,
I wouldn't.
One time's enough.
I would never choose to do it.
No,
A major respect for all mathematicians out there.
Seriously.
That is true. Yeah.
That's rough.
Very.
Yeah.
So then at this public school that he was at, he had a really close friend, and some people theorize that it was his first love, but no conclusion there. Really introduced him to some astronomy and some rudimentary code breaking that he really found enjoyable. But when his friend died in 1930, Alan Turing really revamped his efforts in these fields. Like, it wasn't that he was lacking it before.
Kind of sparked it.
Yeah, he just dove into it more wholeheartedly because in a letter that he wrote to his friend's mom, he was this holds a special place in my heart because he introduced it to me, but I really got to focus on this work because it's what he would have wanted me to do.
Right.
So he's of that mindset. I got to carry on for my
It's
friend.
interesting to know where he got some of his inspiration.
Yeah.
Outside of him just being a genius.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh yeah, by the way.
Seriously. And before applying to university, when, that whole process, before going to university, he was theorizing on relativity and quantum mechanics. I still don't really grasp that stuff.
I asked the question, why not? Why not?
Yeah, well,
if you can broaden your educational experience,
quantum mechanics. What even is that?
Well, he even delved into biology too.
Yeah, I saw as well. I mean, you got astronomy, biology, quantum mechanics.
They wanted to broaden his horizons, and he did.
A lot of fields have him to thank for a lot of interesting breakthroughs for sure.
Yeah.
Seriously, his mind.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Interesting.
Super awesome.
So his impact.
Yeah, his impact.
Past and present.
Well, like we mentioned, the AI testing, huge
The Turing
implications.
Test
that's still really relevant. The closest any machine has ever come to passing this test was a 33%
success rate.
Success rate. It needs to be at a 70. They're 40% off here, guys.
Yeah. We're still working on that one.
Yeah.
And then also just, the Turing machine itself, the implications for that.
Thank you for computers.
Right. Are very abstract. It's hard to always talk about Turing machines too because they're kind of abstract in nature just because Turing machines are they are abstractions on algorithms, things like that. But just how we come to know computations and even, the church Turing Thesis and things like that. What is computable, what isn't. Yeah. What did Bauer say, our professor, about that one thing that a Turing machine is unable...
A Turing machine is unable to tell if another Turing machine will halt. So,
right.
we know that.
A language cannot tell if another language is going to be successful or not.
Right, like an algorithm or something like that.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling almost.
That's crazy.
And that's all Alan Turing, too.
Yeah.
Anything else do we want to talk about for him?
I guess one thing we'll wrap up on is kind of a contribution to present now as well. Was his stored program computer. Now, what this was, it sounds kind of confusing when you say it that way, but I'll go ahead and kind of simplify it a little bit. So basically, the idea behind this was being able to store instructions, right, in electronic memory. So that's what we ultimately do today is we're
So-
able to store instructions in
Right,
electronic
right.
memory.
So essentially, he developed memory
Well,
in the electronic form.
he didn't. The problem was he didn't have time, right? So he actually released a paper about this and saying that this would be a really cool idea to do. It was one of the most detailed designs of his time,
Wow.
right? But he did not have the time to actually implement it, which is his predecessor, von Neumann, was a person that actually kind of implemented this architecture of this storing these instructions in actual electronic memory. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, which
So
it's something we
crazy.
actually use today.
Right, it's still something that we know to be true.
Yeah.
So his brilliant ideas
Is in
influencing
this
today.
podcast. I mean, it's helping us
Right.
make this podcast today for you guys. I mean,
Okay,
this
so
is-
to wrap up, if you
Yeah.
could, it's just to finalize this. If we could meet Alan Turing
Ooh.
now, what question
Ooh.
would you ask him?
Oh man.
Or what would you say?
Could you successfully develop AI to pass your AI test?
Oh,
That's a good one.
that's
Slash, can I help you do it?
Yeah.
That's a very
And also,
good
can I get on
question.
that research paper? Have my name on that too. Thank you.
Man, a question. Sterling, what do you think?
What would I ask? I'm trying to think of
still
something I would
thinking
ask him. First, I don't know what I would ask him really. I'd probably have a lot to ask him, or just converse with him. I feel like he was a very interesting person.
Just like hang out with him for
Yeah,
a few
just
hours,
kick
maybe
it.
like osmosis.
What kind of
and
beer does he
intelligence.
like?
Talk
Yeah.
about some, quantum
Mhm.
mechanics. I mean,
Maybe my IQ would go up because of his
Quantum.
presence.
Watch
Yeah.
Ex Machina together and see if he likes it or not.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing I would like to do would be to show him some of the things that he helped develop. I guess
Oh,
you know what I
yeah.
mean, like show him Siri or show him Cortana.
Right.
Like, well, this is an AI thing. Sort of
Have him take our class and be like, "Oh yeah,
man, that would
I
be
did this."
awesome." He'd probably just sit back and
What would
just
he think of modern computing?
I would ask him what he was most proud of.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what accomplishment is he most proud of?
Ooh, that's a very
I
good,
think that'd be interesting to know.
that's a very good question. Oh, well.
All right, guys, we just threw all
Cool.
this information at you.
Yeah, I hope you can spend a
Some
couple hours
zeros and ones
digesting
out
it.
there.
Yeah,
Some zeros and ones.
That's binary in case you're new to computer science.
Yeah.
And we're just bantering about it. So, binary banter.
Yeah, so we're signing off. Join us next week where we talk about some new topic that
Yeah.
It's come
interests
up.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. All right.
Peace.
Sweet. Thank you guys.